Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of the Neurodivergent podcast. I am your host, Jannice Jones, the Neurodivergent positive psychologist. And today I'm going to be talking about a really important topic, ADHD and autistic burnout. I'm hoping by the end of the show you can understand the differences, navigate successfully the challenges, and build compassion for yourself or others suffering from burnout. Burnout is a common but often misunderstood experience for both ADHD and autistic individuals, and it manifests in unique ways depending on each person's neurodivergent profile. For those who experience both conditions, like myself, often referred to as AuDHD, the risk of burnout can be even more pronounced due to overlapping symptoms and intensified challenges. In this episode, I'll talk about the distinct characteristics of both ADHD and autistic burnout, how they differ, what the early warning signs to watch out for, and even more importantly, strategies to prevent and recover from burnout. Coaching, self-care, and community definitely play a vital role in managing these challenges. As someone who experienced burnout in my 50s prior to my neurodivergent diagnosis, I wish I'd known what to look out for sooner. This episode aims to share some of the lessons I wish I'd known then, so others can recognise the signs and take the really necessary action before burnout takes over. So what is burnout? Let's take a moment to acknowledge that burnout, it's not just a buzzword. It's a recognised phenomenon. In 2019, the World Health Organization officially classified burnout as an occupational phenomenon in the 9th revision of the International Classification of Diseases. They defined it as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. And when I say successfully managed, I don't just mean by the individual. I'm also talking about the organization. It tends to be characterized by 3 dimensions: feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from your job, or feelings of negativity or cynicism related to your job, and reduced professional efficacy. So what is ADHD burnout? It arises from the chronic stress of managing expectations, deadlines, and daily responsibilities in a world that can feel overwhelmingly fast-paced and inflexible, especially in today's hustle culture. Many individuals with ADHD experience burnout from the energy it takes to maintain focus, meet incessant and ever-increasing deadlines, and navigate executive function challenges. I talked about executive function challenges in episode 2 of the Neurodivergent podcast. If you haven't listened to that yet, please, after you finish listening to this podcast, go and listen to that episode, because there were some really helpful understandings and ways of helping yourself to deal with executive function challenges that come from ADHD, autism, AuDHD, and dyslexia. A lot of executive function challenges for ADHDers are around the lack of friendly accommodations or workplace adjustments. It could end up in persistent mental and physical fatigue, even after sleep. You might become increasingly forgetful. You might have more and more trouble concentrating. You might feel more emotional dysregulation, so feeling frustrated, irritable, or having mood swings. You might feel inadequate, guilty, or especially guilty around productivity or how your productivity has decreased. You may experience physical symptoms, headaches, muscle tension, stomach issues. You might experience higher impulsivity or risk-taking behaviors. Have you ever felt like you're running constantly, just running on empty, even though you're trying your hardest and you just don't feel like you're getting anywhere? Do you find yourself starting tasks and really struggling to maintain the resilience to finish them? These are common experiences for those with ADHD. For me, this looked like consistently missing deadlines, feeling disconnected from work, not because I wasn't capable or interested, but because I lacked the mental energy required to break tasks down or to remain focused in order to be able to carry it through. You might be thinking, oh, that's just stress. Everybody feels like that. But neurodivergent or ADHD burnout is different. It really is a level of exhaustion that goes beyond typical stress. It's much deeper and much more pervasive than just fatigue. Research indicates that adults with ADHD are way more likely to experience occupational burnout compared to their neurotypical peers. And that comes from a study by Johnson et al. In 2022. Research also suggests that the constant masking or camouflaging of neurodivergent traits can also lead to a significant depletion of energy resources. So are you constantly trying to hide your true self or feel that you have to mask in order to fit in? Because if so, that requires an enormous amount of masking, which takes a toll on your energy management and ultimately mental health. So what about autistic burnout? Autistic burnout occurs when the cumulative stress of social interaction, sensory overload, and the effort of once again masking, concealing those autistic traits to blend into the neurotypical environment. These can lead to extreme mental and physical exhaustion. So imagine walking into a bustling supermarket. There's bright lights, there's loud music, there's lots of chatter. It can be really overwhelming for an autistic individual. This constant sensory bombardment is a daily reality for many autistic individuals and can be a significant contributor to burnout. It's a deep exhaustion and can lead to a loss of skills and an increased sensitivity to all sensory input. Have you ever felt like your senses are on overdrive, making it difficult to function? In coaching, we talk about spoons theory, where we deplete our spoons with every task, every connection, sound, or anything that is an input. For many autists, it can often feel like they constantly have no spoons left to pick themselves back up again, which can create a need for recovery through solitude and reduced demands. I really identify with that. When I'm getting close closer to burnout, first thing that happens is my voice will go. And the second thing that will happen is I need way more time on my own. If I've had to be around people for whatever reason, I have to go and lay down in a dark room with no sound and no input whatsoever, just to recover from being around lots of people or having too much input. So what are the signs and symptoms of autistic burnout? Severe fatigue, often way beyond what rest can fix. So you might go to bed and have 8-12 hours sleep and wake up just as exhausted. Difficulty with daily function, even tasks that you could previously manage easily, suddenly you can lack the ability to do them. And I certainly experienced that in my 50s. Increased sensitivity to sensory inputs, so lights, noise, textures, all of that, temperature. Loss of verbal or social skills. I've coached some autists who literally become mute if they get to that point of autistic burnout. They can have a real difficulty in any type of speaking or emotional engagement with others. It's often accompanied by feelings of overwhelm, hopelessness, or a complete what we call mental shutdown, withdrawal from social interaction, a need for extended solitude. Research indicates that over 70% of autistic adults have experienced some kind of burnout, often due to social or sensory overload and the ongoing effort of masking. So understanding AuDHD burnout is also important, because individuals with both ADHD and autism, their burnout can be compounded by the overlap and interaction between the symptoms of both conditions. These individuals may experience ADHD-related impulsivity and energy shifts, alongside sensory sensitivities and a strong need for structure typical of autism. The result can be a particularly intense form of burnout, where managing both executive dysfunction and sensory overload can feel really overwhelming. It certainly did for me. Unique challenges in AuDHD are increased susceptibility to both emotional dysregulation from ADHD and sensory overwhelm from autism. So greater difficulty with routines that require both flexibility and predictability. A higher risk of masking, leading to emotional exhaustion and intensified social anxiety due to both impulsivity and sensitivity to social cues. Many neurodivergent women, when they are going through the menopause, can really be impacted massively by burnout, especially if they are undiagnosed or late diagnosed neurodivergent women. Hormonal changes during perimenopause and menopause can amplify symptoms such as brain fog, irritability, and fatigue, which are all common burnout indicators. So for women managing ADHD, autism, AuDHD, and menopause, this can lead to increased executive function challenges and heightened emotional sensitivity. Some studies have shown that estrogen levels, which affect dopamine production, can influence ADHD symptoms. As estrogen declines during menopause, ADHD symptoms can intensify, increasing the risk of burnout. As I mentioned before, my previous episode 2 of the Neurodivergent podcast, I talked about the effect of the lack of the neurotransmitters dopamine and noradrenaline in neurodivergent individuals and how this can exacerbate executive function challenges. If you haven't listened to it yet, please give it a listen, as there are suggestions in the episode for self-care that may help you. And this is especially true for menopausal or perimenopausal women. So what are some self-care strategies for ADHD, autism, and AuDHD burnout that they can implement daily to reduce the risk of burnout or to support recovery if burnout is already present? For ADHD burnout, can you break tasks into smaller, more manageable steps to reduce that feeling of overwhelm? Taking scheduled breaks and downtime, regular breaks throughout the day, really can delay or reduce cognitive fatigue. And I talked about in the last episode about having the Ferrari engine and the bicycle brakes. We need better brakes. So we need to be able to take more breaks, even if it's 5 minutes regularly throughout the day, because setting those limits helps your brain to recover from the overwhelm, from the burnout, from the increased fog or inability to focus. So learning to set limits of how long you're going to focus for and not overcommitting are really important for neurodivergents who are ADHD. So for autists, we can use things like sensory tools. So noise cancelling headphones, tinted glasses to reduce sensory overload, working in a quieter area, dedicating time for solitude. Spending time alone helps with recharging and processing. Limit masking. Find safe spaces to be authentic, which can reduce emotional exhaustion. For those who are AuDHD, try balancing routine and flexibility. Experiment with routines that allow structure but are adaptable when needed. Prioritize your energy restoration activities. So make time for sensory-friendly activities that provide comfort. So that could be anything from holding something that you find calming for you. It could be making time just to rub your arms and give yourself some sense of holding, being held. It could be protecting your energy by managing your exposure to draining situations or people. So what are the early warning signs of burnout to look out for? Being aware of these early symptoms can help individuals seek support sooner or prevent escalation towards burnout. So early warning signs of ADHD burnout: heightened sensitivity to criticism, increased irritability, trouble waking up or staying focused despite feeling wired, avoiding tasks, and generally just feeling more on edge more of the time. Early warning signs for autistic individuals: the need to increasingly withdraw from social activities, increasing difficulty with routine tasks that were previously easily manageable, heightened sensitivity and the need for solitude. And early warning signs of burnout for AuDHDers, emotional exhaustion, coupled with higher levels of impulsivity or restlessness, more difficulty balancing routines, and the need for both stimulation and solitude. So what can we do to help ourselves to build that sustainable path towards recovering from or moving away from burnout? It's a gradual process that involves self-compassion, patience, and intentional changes. By recognizing burnout signs earlier and adopting neurodiversity-informed strategies, individuals with ADHD, autism, or AuDHD can take proactive steps to thrive. So thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode has shed some light on the important topic of neurodivergent burnout. Remember, understanding and compassion are key, both for ourselves and for others. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out for support. You can find resources and information in the show notes. Visit our website, jannicejones.com. That's Jannice with a double N for more information. And please like, follow, or share this episode with someone who might benefit from the information here. So until next time, take care. This is the neurodivergent positive psychologist, Jannice Jones, saying thank you for being here. If you want to reach out to some of the team, it's support@jannicejones.com. There are blogs and articles on the website that might help you. Please reach out and get the help that you need. Bye.